Welcome back to Homeopathy at Home with Melissa. Hey, Melissa.
Hey, Bree. I'm excited to talk about mast cell activation syndrome tonight. We're just going to do a little introduction. We're not going to dive deep, but
But it's going
before
to be
we
fun.
do,
And
yeah,
I'm looking forward to this. I'm sure I will have some questions because I know enough and also not enough. So as usual, I'll come with
yeah.
some good questions for you guys, hopefully. But before we do that, we have some fan mail. And this one is from Texas. So I'm going to read it and Melissa's going to answer it. She says, "Hello, I'm in Texas and very interested in becoming a practitioner. In your opinion, what is the best school to become certified? Thank you so much, Leslie."
I love this question because we need more homeopaths. And so the question is the best school to become certified. And
Good
you can
clarification.
get a certification from any school that you go to. So I guess my question back to you, Leslie, would be, do you want to be a registered homeopath with the North American Society of Homeopaths? If you do, then you need to find a school that is, what's the word? I don't know if certified might be the right word,
Like
with
accredited
NASH.
or something?
Accredited, that's the word, accredited.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the so you can look on the NASH website, North American Society of Homeopaths website, to see if which schools are accredited so that you can become a registered homeopath. Um, you need to look at your state's laws. There's also a document, a PDF document on the NASH website with state by state laws. So you can see in Texas, do you have to be a registered homeopath? Can you even practice as a homeopath? What can you say? What can you do? So that's the place to start is look at your laws in your state. And then I'll give my opinion. I'm not going to give my opinion. I'm going to keep that to myself. So the CHE is Centers for Homeopathic Education. They are in London. If you complete that program, it's an amazing program, and then you can be a registered homeopath with NASH at when you complete that program. Um, of course, my favorite is Dr. Murphy, and sweet little baby. I saw his sweet little arm.
He's getting big enough he can sneak in now and
Oh,
unlock doors and stuff.
oh,
So if you guys are watching, you just got a little,
a little glimpse of his arm.
yep.
So Dr. Murphy, Dr. Robin Murphy's program is my favorite. He was an absolute genius. Anything you can learn from him, you're gonna be good, right? It's gonna be really good. And then, um, it there's two different ways though to go through Dr. Murphy's program. One is through the Lotus Wellness Cottage. That's where I suggest you go through the program. The other is Lotus Wellness Institute. No, Lotus Health
Health
Institute.
Institute. Yeah.
Lotus Health Institute. Not that that's a bad program. It's not. But it's the same material, but through Lotus Wellness Cottage, you're going to get a lot more support, student support. There's student support calls. You get to get, your personal questions answered. You're going to have a lot more support, which you need. The Lotus Health Institute, you're on your own. I mean, I'm not saying there's no support, and I definitely I don't want to put that one down at all. It's just if you do Dr. Murphy's program, Lotus Wellness Cottage is going to be my top choice. So, and then if you really want to wait, I'm in the very beginning stages of creating my own academy, and I will not um, create or release this academy if I can't be accredited through NASH. I just feel like if you're gonna go through my program, I want you to be able to be a registered homeopath if you want to be. So it's going to take time. I'm in the beginning stages at the time of this recording. So whenever that happens, you'll get notified for sure by email.
So excited for that, as you know.
Well,
Can't
and
wait.
the different what's going to be, you're going to have the basic you're going to have everything through me that you have at any other school. But the difference is going to be that I'm a Christian. And so if that's a strong belief of yours, then you're going to be able to learn in a safe place where we won't get into non-Christian things.
Hmm.
Homeopathy is not a spiritual thing. So I've been hearing this lately where there was somebody that said, that just kind of put it out there, homeopathy's not spiritual. Why are we trying to make it spiritual? I'm not. I'm spiritual. I carry the Holy Spirit, right? Living for Jesus, this is who I am. So I can't separate it from what I do. I can't separate myself from what I do. Therefore, it's in everything that I do. So no, this is not going to be, no, homeopathy is not spiritual, but going through my academy, you're going to get encouragement, prayer, and you're not going to be led into any non-Christian things that are big in the natural healthcare world.
Hmm.
There you go. That's it.
Okay.
So let's talk about mast cell activation syndrome. You ready?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. Do you want to go through the definition?
I will. Mast Cell Activation Syndrome, or MCAS, I believe, right, is what we say for short,
That's right.
is a condition where the body releases excessive histamine, causing an overactive immune response. Mast cells, so MAST, mast cells, are a part of your immune system. They're made in your bone marrow, and then they move through your bloodstream into your tissue. Mature mast cells live in tissues throughout your body and help protect you from hazards around you. They also help fight infections and regulate your organs. So in the activation syndrome, is those are activated, really like overactivated. So they're releasing that excessive histamine, or the histamine causes that immune response. I'm sorry. Causes can include sometimes just post-COVID because of the big immune system disruption. Man, we see some weird stuff after COVID.
Yep. So listen, I'd
Um,
never heard of MCAS until 2019. I'm not saying that
yeah.
I'm not saying that it was new in 2019, but I never heard of it. I remember the first person that ever came to me and said, like, she wanted my help, and she
Hmm.
said she has MCAS, and I was like,
Well, it
I
was
will,
very rare, I guess. I mean,
yeah,
in my limited experience of the world,
yeah,
I had maybe heard of it once or twice, even in the natural community. And it was
yeah.
really, really extreme in the people that I did hear about it in.
And then COVID came along, and I believe just turned that on in so many people,
Yeah.
activated it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh. That's so interesting to think
yeah.
about.
What
Some of the
else?
causes can be environmental sensitivities, exposure to triggers that overstimulate those mast cells, kind of like what COVID or other things. Um, and then immune system dysregulation. So those are kind of the same, different ways of saying similar things. But the symptoms can be intense allergic reactions, vomiting normal foods, fainting spells, abdominal migraines, blurred vision, brain fog, tachycardia, which is a rapid heart rate, inability to regulate body temperature, constant sneezing, dry cough, a flushed face, especially after drinking wine, the need for beta blockers to prevent passing out, the need for antihistamines, widespread inflammation, and hypersensitivity to various substances. MCAS can cause a whole body effect beyond just your typical allergy symptoms and may require a comprehensive treatment approach, which could include homeopathic remedies that we're going to talk about, histamine reducing supplements or foods, like maybe for a period of time, adjusting your diet and addressing underlying causes.
Yeah, so I want to talk through the symptoms that, okay, so if somebody comes to me with blurred vision, brain fog, sneezing and dry cough, I'm not going to automatically think MCAS, right?
Mhm.
Those can be a million different things. Um, it's the intense allergic reactions, possibly the fainting spells, possibly of the abdominal migraines might make me think MCAS, but tachycardia I think is big. Um, the inability to regulate temperature could be a hormone issue, so I'm not going to automatically think MCAS. The flushed face, when somebody tells me they drink wine, they get a flushed face, I'm thinking histamine
Mm.
response right then.
Now,
Um,
wait, you continue because then I have a question about some of these.
so I haven't really met anybody that needs beta blockers to prevent passing out, but that would be a big bell in my mind. The need for antihistamines just to live and function. Yeah, that's a histamine problem. If the antihistamines make them feel better. Widespread inflammation, I mean, that's like fibromyalgia and IBS,
Yeah.
all the umbrella terms. But here's the number one thing, hypersensitivity to everything. They're hypersensitive to chemicals. They get headaches when they smell perfume, hypersensitive to medications and remedies. So they have big reactions. They can take a lot less of a medication, a lower dose or less frequent, and get the same response as someone who needs the full dose. But they also have these people overreact to homeopathic remedies most often.
Mm.
When I see people are having big fat reactions to every homeopathic remedy, and I don't do it right away. So I don't start right away with, oh my gosh, you must have MCAS. It's a process that over time I'm like, oh, you're doing this every time with every remedy. Therefore, I want to I want to look at MCAS.
And do you think something that stands out to me when I'm thinking of when MCAS would come to mind is when there was a pretty significant sudden change? Even if it was like, so most of their life they've been fine, but maybe they got sick or over the past couple of years after mold exposure, after something else, then
Mm.
there's these piled on allergic reactions to things. Or when there's a lot of them that are all over the place. So like if somebody just comes with seasonal allergies, it's obviously in the spring and the fall, and then they're okay. Or some of these symptoms that present very specifically to a food, but it's almost the people I have seen anyway with it they have weird responses to it's all across the board and it's very unpredictable and it's respiratory or it's digestive or it's headaches and it's all over. Then that's at least kind of where my mind goes is your body is overreacting, is oversensitive to all kinds of things that there's no pattern, there's not consistency, and it just escalates.
That's
Would you
right.
agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Okay.
that's the thing. It's the overreaction to all kinds of things. That you just shouldn't have. So, even stress, a little tiny stressor comes and
Mm,
you have this big terrible flare.
yeah.
That's the word I hear, flare. Oh, I'm in a flare because I had this stressor or whatever. And a flare could last a day or a week or a month, where then you're just like knocked out, down, no energy, all the things. It's a very different, I don't want to say weird because I definitely am not calling any person weird, but it's a very different thing.
Well, I think that the syndrome or whatever they call it, condition is weird, meaning like it is a pretty, like when I hear of these people, it's hard to track, it's hard to follow.
Yep.
they aren't even always sure they're not weird, but their symptoms are weird. Like it
Right.
doesn't connect to normal stuff. It changes and it makes it difficult. And I mean, I would not blame
Hmm.
people if they're feeling crazy about it. You know, like their
Yeah.
mental state feels crazy because they can't figure it out.
Right.
Um,
Right. Because we want to figure it out.
yeah.
A lot of us feel better when we have answers. And that's why I love homeopathy. I don't have to have the answer. I just need the sign. Tell me
Well,
which.
and how do you avoid the thing if you don't know what's going to trigger you that day or where
Right.
it's going to happen? If it is the chemical sensitivity, well, how do you know where you're
Yeah.
going if they have the thing that's bothering you? And that's a hard way to live.
Really hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
some natural, oh, go ahead. What?
I was going to say, so options that we have
Yeah.
good options for that.
Natural treatment options include, of course, homeopathic remedies, and histaminum is a big one. Histaminum is a great homeopathic remedy for MCAS, a great place to start. You can also consider, I've never used these, but you could consider homeopathic versions of supplements like, I don't even know if I'm saying these right, Deo, luteolin, or quercetin. You could use homeopathic version, right? Those supplements in potency.
Mm.
Nux Vomica, Belladonna, Hyoscyamus, carcinosin, I would think would be a really big one. Uranium for intense cases, and I can't tell you why that is. I've never used uranium. You'd have to read it in the Materia Medica. Carbolic acid for reducing histamine, but also histaminum helps you. Okay, so it sounds like carbolic acid reduces histamine, but histaminum helps your body to, I want to, the dog barked and scared me. I want to say use the histamine correctly. Does that even make sense?
Well, it brings
I think
balance to that part of it, right?
bring
I would say
balance.
that
That's
where
true.
it's instead of like over releasing the histamines,
That's true.
it calms them when with that.
Yeah. Yeah, bring balance. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we have histamine. We just need we can't
It's
have it
not
over.
doing the well, we want it to happen when there's a problem.
That's right.
So you know that there was a problem,
Then
but
it's
you
working
don't
correctly.
want it to happen all the time when like
That's
it's
right.
it's acting like there's a threatening thing when there's not. Um, and that is, I think, what makes this hard for me to understand is because these people react to a food that their body's not actually allergic to,
Hmm.
but it's misreading the problem and treating it like an allergy. So how do you know if it's and like cutting the food does help, but they don't come up and show they're allergic to everything. So
Right. Which is why histaminum is such a great first choice.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um, and then binders to calm histamine are bentonite clay, zeolite, which is or Novotaze Limuzi 6 is a zeolite, and charcoal. And then some additional things you could do are removing underlying cause of overreaction, which we don't love, especially not long term. Addressing environmental triggers, potentially using over-the-counter antihistamines like Benadryl in crisis situations. Listen, seriously, I left this note in here about Benadryl because in a crisis situation, if histaminum isn't working in the moment, because you can use histaminum acutely or chronically,
Mhm.
then take the Benadryl and don't beat yourself up,
Yeah.
right? We're going to get through the crisis and then we're going to keep going and doing the best we can.
I've even
Um,
seen people who were taking antihistamines once or twice a day all the time.
yeah.
Over time, they don't need them as much,
Yep.
but they still will use it if there's well, what you said, a flare or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, do it.
Yeah. Castor oil to help move toxins and dietary modifications, which again, I don't love as a long-term answer, but short-term, yeah. You can change your diet. Well, okay, dietary modifications, if you're not eating a good diet, then yeah, we want you to change it in that way. But just removing whole food groups, um, I don't agree with that long term. So we want to heal the gut. There may need to be a multi-layered approach, combining remedies to lower histamine response and addressing root causes. Um, I also wanted to just, so, I listed the remedies, the main remedies for MCAS. Write those down, read them in the Materia Medica. When, for potency, go low and slow when you don't know. And we are going to teach a class specifically on MCAS in the future. So then we're going to go into detail about how to choose which remedy, how to choose potency, case management, case taking, all the things. Um, but I want to point out that there is a Banerjee protocol located on um, Homeopathic Remedies Online.
Hmm.
So the first line protocol, it says on there to do it for 3 months. Um, and I just wanted to share, it's been my experience that most people with MCAS cannot handle all these remedies and this frequent dosing. So I'm not saying you shouldn't use it or try this. I think it could be really individual. If you love Banerjee protocols and you've had great success with those, we've had great success with some Banerjee protocols, not all of them. But it just because it's been my experience that people with MCAS are highly sensitive, I can't even imagine what they would do with all these remedies and these high potencies. And again, everybody's different, so not everybody's going to have big fat reactions, but this would intimidate me a little bit to try. So so of course, an aggravation of a remedy is not dangerous. What are you going to say, Bree?
Um, I wonder, and I truly don't know how many people are actually diagnosed with it. I feel like we see the symptomology, but do you have clients who like those people have been diagnosed? Does traditional medicine diagnose MCAS?
That's a great question. And I am gonna look in my note. And also, when people come to me and say they have MCAS, so just like every, other things, other conditions that we've talked about, if someone comes to me and says I have MCAS, what does that mean? What does that look like for you? What are your symptoms? So I'm still going to be asking the same things and addressing the presenting
Yeah,
symptoms.
true. Yeah.
So that's why um I think that's why I haven't asked, were you diagnosed by a traditional doctor or how was this diagnosed? But
Yeah.
you're right. In a Banerjee protocol, it should be a diagnosis that you have
Hmm.
from a doctor.
It looks like it is. I mean, it's recognized in Western medicine.
It
Um,
looks like what? What'd you
it
say?
looks like it is recognized in Western medicine, but I don't think there's very clear, just from my quick overview, it's very clear parameters.
Okay.
Um, so that was just a question I had. So, and the point of that really was to just say, kind of like the thyroid protocol. If you are not diagnosed hypothyroid, I don't know that I would say use the protocol.
Right.
Something like that,
Right.
where just because you have presenting symptoms, there are
Hmm.
still remedies you can use to treat the symptoms that
Right.
will treat mast cell if that's what it is,
That's right.
without using this protocol or, that's a lot of remedies in general for any protocol. So especially for something like mast cell, that's quite a bit.
It is, yeah. Bovista 200, Lachesis 200, Antimonium crudum 6C, Arsenicum album 3C in liquid, Ipecac 30, and Apis 30. Um, and then it has clear instructions on the website on how to take these, when, how, all the things. So very clear instructions. So if you choose to go with the Banerjee protocol from Homeopathic Remedies online, you can look that up. When you go to their website, you can just click on or you can search, you can actually search MCAS, MCAS, and it'll come up. So, what we're going to do is teach a course on MCAS because it's become so prominent and because it can be confusing. And I want to help people that have this to, here's what I'm trying to do with somebody that I suspect MCAS. I'm trying to calm their histamine responses so that we can actually use remedies to address their symptoms.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing.
And so, what do you think of Kelp Carb in a situation like that? When I hear
Yeah.
overreactive immune system, I think just in my experience with Kelp Carb, it sounds like a good remedy, right?
Yeah, I think it could be.
Support the immune system in
Hmm.
general.
Yeah. Yep. That's a great idea. So, low potency. Here's the thing with some of these people with MCAS because they overreact with to remedies is they might need a 6C in water, 1 drop once per week. I mean, I've got people that are doing that. And then they don't overreact. So, yeah. All right. Well, if you're subscribed to emails, you'll hear about the course when we get it out. And thanks for tuning in.